These are the rollers on which the panels rest, and this is a these are the rollers on which the panel rests, and this is a lever. When you press the lever on one side, the rollers lift up, and the panel can be slid easily over this from right to left of the machine. And when you have taken the panel to the place where you want it to be, then you depress the other side of the lever here, and the rollers settle down, and the panel sits down on the um, rest of the rollers. Okay. Then we have automatic mechanical moving frame. That's the automatic moving frame that you see over here. That is the automatic or pneumatic moving frame. As I said, in the MFP device there are grooves, and if the saw blade is coming in between two consecutive grooves, any two consecutive grooves, there is a sensor at the back of the machine which senses that the saw blade is in between two grooves, and then it actuates either a pneumatic mechanism or a mechanical mechanism, and the entire frame lifts up so that a groove comes exactly below the saw blade, and the MFP board will not be damaged in that case. Okay. 6 HP motor is optionally available on some of the models. Special voltages, like someone wants to work at, let's say, 220 volts or 110 volts, then we can ask for special voltage motors. 2-speed motors required when you would like to cut something other than aluminum composite panel. 2-speed motor would be available for cutting, let's say, zinc composite panel, which is harder than aluminum composite panel. Then you use a lower RPM like 1400 RPM. Then we have the LCD display for vertical cuts. That's the digital readout you see, and similar display, LCD display for horizontal cuts. Okay, then we have angular cutting device. Angular cutting device is, you saw the videos when the machine is cutting, it cuts either horizontally or vertically, but it does not cut at an angle. Suppose you would like to cut the piece at an angle. In that case, you use a device which is a kind of a triangular stand, and this device is first placed on the machine, and on this device the ACP sheet is placed. So because of the angle on the device, the sheet itself gets placed at an angle, and when you take a cut, you don't get a cut which is parallel to the ground, you get a cut which is equal to the angle of the angular device. And this is the angular cutting device. Pneumatic infeed of the saw blade. Okay, this is the pneumatic entry of the saw blade. This is a hydropneumatic cylinder, and when you want the saw blade to cut, if you have this option, it will push the saw blade into the job and you can cut. Pneumatic saw carriage block. That's the pneumatic saw carriage block. Horizontal cut repeater. Okay, sorry. That's the repeater device for horizontal cut here. So if you want to take repeated cuts, then you can fix this device and it will keep on cutting at the same point. Beam lock with safety micro. As you know, the beam can be locked vertically at 5 or at 1 meter intervals in 5 different locations or 4 different locations, as the case may be. So this is the beam lock, and unless the beam is locked, if it is not in any of the locked vertical positions, there is a chance that it will damage the MFP board, if there is an MFP board, or the PVC strips, the blue PVC strips on the panel of the machine. Only if it is locked here will there be a groove running below the blade, and that is why the PVC strip or the MFP board will not be damaged. If it is in any other position apart from this locked position, there is a chance, there is a big possibility that the MFP board or the PVC strip will be damaged. Now the safety micro switch is a micro switch which understands whether the beam is locked or not, and if the beam is not locked, it will not allow the motor to start up. Because of this safety micro switch, once the beam is in locked position, only then will the saw motor start. "90-degree saw unit tip up." That's the one here. There is an automatic unit for changing the cut from horizontal to vertical. So this is the unit that is used for changing from horizontal to vertical cutting mode. Venturi method of cooling device. This is actually adding coolant to the machine. When you're cutting aluminium composite panels, you don't need coolant, but when you're cutting harder materials, for example zinc composite panels, then you will need coolant to enhance the life of the saw blade. And this is the Venturi coolant device that you see that will be installed on the machine. And then we have optimization software and data transmission, automatic data transmission. These are the suction cups here, which are used for holding the frame. and movable and retractable aluminum supports. These are present on the machine. If you see here, these are the movable and retractable aluminum supports. If you are cutting a small piece, then if you rest it on the lower rollers, the operator would have to bend down, and these are the retractable supports here. You see again, they are placed at a higher height. So if you are cutting small panel, the operator need not bend down and cut. He can place the panel instead of the regular rollers at the bottom. He can place the panel on these ones, on these rollers here, or on these are the retractable rollers. And since in a large piece cutting they would be in the way, they are retractable. They retract back into the board so that they do not interfere or hinder the saw blade or the router, or placing the aluminum composite panel when you are cutting a bigger piece, and they are not required. That's the Venturi cooling device. This is the tank in which the coolant exists. You give a pneumatic connection, and from here it goes into the